F 2019. Yeah, just the entrance. Just try and keep it so that you have a clear idea of where you need to get to after the entrance, and that would be Otto over here. It just puts it more central. We're just talking about placing the blocks centrally, really. So, yeah, when you're taking a random in, you're also trying to think about where the block can be for the most efficiency. Some pretty good 20s. First one, not so much. It looks like to me like Otto ends up going this side of Matthew, and so we need Matthew to be pressing in a little bit first, and then just keeping the piece more in place rather than just translating around the top of Matthew. The 19s look really good, especially I really like the front pair. I know you guys decided the short one. It's kind of interesting when we do B slot drills, tend to just go for maximum B slot reps, but actually, to be honest, it's kind of good as well because you get that mixed B slot happening on the 20s and the 19s, so that does kind of make things interesting and also good training as well. I really like the dynamic that we're seeing here between Otto and Nadia. And also remember on the 19s with this one, we're looking for the translation. Doesn't happen quite as much on this particular move, but most of them it does. You see how this one, the piece sort of rotates more around its center point. It doesn't have quite as much walk to it, and that means that Matthew has to translate quite a bit at the end for the catch. On this one, the piece translates. See that? So right now it should be Matthew just taking his hip to here and the piece rotating around Nadia, but the piece moves south. Can you see that? Quite a big step out. Remember that little walk got to happen. Otherwise we get that slightly longer catch. That is a really nice 20 spin. Okay, let's have a little look at this. So Matthew initiates. See that? Matthew's initiated and Otto's not gone anywhere yet. He's feeding Matthew through, but then the piece rotates around its center point, which makes it super easy for Nadia and Yora. A little more translation happening now on the back pair. So Yora starts here and he ends up over here. So that's a good little walk, which makes for an easier catch. It means that as Matthew's coming around, it's an easier finish for him. Cool. That's also a really decent 20. Piece is staying a lot more in place than it was in the beginning. So good 20. Yeah, as long as you see that first move is just a little bit of a move towards the center and then finishing with a rotation. Yeah, that's good. Okay, this one is an interesting one. A lot of it, I think, is the build. F to 19. Yora's kind of stuck up against the the wall slightly, but the piece gets pushed into this direction. See that? How, as opposed to it coming to here, it looks like it gets pushed to this direction here. See how much translation it has. So keep a real clear idea at the beginning of the 20, a real clear idea of the line between these guys, because that's your reference for the center two. Just the line. Don't worry too much about going to these guys, but just see the line, and then you're trying to spin that piece in the center of that line, just like that. I think sometimes the confusion happens is if the piece is misshapen, it's a little bit harder for, I'm just going to use inside center and outside center because we're kind of switching between a little bit here, but for inside center to see the exact line that the hip needs to go. If, for example, let's say Matthew was at this angle now, but Yora was here, Matthew would tend to push in that direction. But because this is a really clear line, it's a real, all the angles are super easy to see. It's much easier for Matthew to see that, oh yeah, my hip goes to this direction. I'm not trying to go this direction, I'm trying to go to this direction. But even if Matthew was, let's say he was built at this shape here, but he knew that that was where Yora's center point was, and that's where Matthew's center point, Nadia's center point was, that he would try and keep everything relative to this line. So he still wouldn't be pushing in that direction, it would still be this direction to keep everything between the center points of point and tail. I hope I haven't confused you with that. You know, I'm just trying to give you that route map of where to go to at the start of the block. And that's either with a block move or with the end of the block to the next random. If you see the center point of point and tail, and you draw that line between the two, you know exactly where you're going to.